Straight Talk audience. This is AI Gonzalo Lira, and this is Straight Talk, Cyber Cafe Edition.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Straight Talk Podcast with Professor Red Pill and Adam Maxwell from Liberty Rising Group. This is the Cyber Cafe, and we're doing the Liberty Report. Today's agenda, I guess, is what? AI, jobs, leadership, wars, Armageddon, all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you will, take it away, Adam Maxwell.
Sure. The world is in quite a crazy place right now. Wars are emerging. America's turning 250. A great artificial intelligence, maybe revolution, as well as just kind of, I talk about America being 250 years old. That's this, culmination, or where we are today, of this steadily progressive system of increasing governance and fiat and state power, and how that's impacted not just America, Europe, the West, the entire world, as well as their rises. It's causing quite a tumultuous time, both in the world at large, as well as in the West, with people in the West both enjoying certain benefits, as well as suffering certain hardships, all brought on by these conditions. There is a lot of innovation. There is a lot of, how do we say it? Bull remains all over. And so this is what we're going to be covering, is how ought we to navigate this collapse, this Armageddon, this opportunities, the hardship, the collapse, how best to position oneself, how best to navigate through it.
Like I said, I mean, the thing is I think we're headed to an AI bubble. And what I mean by AI bubble is similar to like the dot-com bubble in the 90s. I think that there's been venture capitalists and, obviously the stock market, big tech, and industry has invested way too much money into this particular. They've made a huge gamble, and they've invested a lot of money into innovation, into this, and I think it's fake until proven. You know what? So I think that you're gonna see, as I predicted, I think you'll see within. Like I said, we're in collapse 2025. Hashtag collapse 2025, and I think that it's very possible that we may see some tech billionaires going bankrupt, going completely bust. I'm not going to mention who, Elon Musk and Zuckerberg, of Meta. But I mean, like, it's very possible that Meta might go broke, X might go broke. It's very possible. We don't know. But I think that, like I said, some of these corporations and some of these venture capitalists have invested way too much money into this AI. And I don't know. I see it not as a very viable investment. Yeah, and like I said, DC24 saying enjoy the decline. I think we lost Adam. I'm going to bring him back on stage here in a minute. It's okay. I think he's lost connection. Anyway, so 1 second. Oh, he's not there. It's okay. I'll just we'll take it. I'll wait for him to come back in. Yeah. So basically, like I said, we're dealing with a lot of interesting things right now geopolitically. There's a war that just erupted between India and Pakistan. As DC 2004 also mentioned, looks like India-Pakistan war got more heated. Apparently, both countries shelling each other. Yeah, that's also what's going on. I mean, we're seeing a lot of different things going geopolitically, and it's just going to get worse. I think it's going to get worse. I think, like I said hashtag 2025. I think we're in a collapse. We're in. It was kind of a mitigate, or it's kind of a controlled collapse at first, but now it's gone to a global scale with the tariffs, the Trump tariffs, and like I said, I also predicted that CCP would see a color revolution this year in 2025. Sure enough, what are we seeing in China at this moment? Color revolution. The brewings of it. The Chinese government, or the CCP, is literally starting to implode in real time. There's been a lot of difficulty with the Chinese government, with the CCP, trying to control and mitigate these tariff this trade war that's currently going on between Trump and China. And I think it's just gonna get worse. Where we at here? I don't know what happened to Adam. Sorry guys, I guess it's just the Liberty Report with Professor Red Pill tonight. But yeah, as we wait for him to figure out what he's doing, I don't know. Let me see where he's at. Oh, he's back. I don't know what happened to him.
Hey, you
Are you there?
mentioned people perhaps you shouldn't have. My internet got nuked. Now off my hotspot.
Okay.
Sorry about that. The internet just went off. Something was up with my Wi-Fi.
Alright. Anyway, what I was mentioning, like I said, I was talking about AI, the AI bubble. I mentioned CCP, color revolution that I predicted would happen in 2025. There's now a brewing war between India and Pakistan. That's now in real time going on, and that you're probably going to see some tech billionaires go bankrupt and possibly companies get absorbed or sold or mergers and acquisition. This is 2025 that I said the market, we'd see major market corrections in the West, and we would see tariffs, major tariffs that would cause global interruption in the the global marketplace, which we're seeing now. I said all this stuff last year, and 2-3 years now, been predicting this, and now we're starting to see it in real time. Adam, what are your thoughts on this?
War is not good for business generally. It's good for some business. It's good for the state. War is the business of the state. It is the blood. It's great for the ruling classes and their share ownership in defense industries, in offensive industries and arms manufacturing. But war is always a crime. It is always tragedy, and it harms business. If the war between India and Pakistan heats up, who knows where it ends? If it heats up, things get more uncertain. It's not good for global trade. It's not good for the world. It's not good for India and Pakistan. It's not good. This is also, as you say, in an environment of trade disruption, economic disruption. Things are heating up with Iran, with Yemen. Yemen are firing ballistic missiles into Israeli airspace where they're unable to be taken out, hitting the airport. Israel hits back at the Yemenis airport. What's going on with Iran? America, it has a leader now, finally, after 4 years of having a demented old puppet. Who is this leader? Well, he's a narcissistic buffoon with no principles. Great. What's he doing? Who knows? America doesn't have any diplomats. No diplomat. Their best diplomat is Steve Witkoff, and he doesn't really know too much what he's doing. His background's in business. He's done an okay job in certain aspects of diplomacy, but he doesn't really understand everything from what I see in the perspective of other analysts whom I listen to also. And it doesn't seem that that America and Europe especially are truly genuine about ending the war in Ukraine. I'm not sure what's going on with Iran. I believe it's not in the Iranian interest, it's not in the American interest, and it's not in the Israeli interest to have a war in Iran. What will occur? I don't know. Color revolutions, sure. One thing is for sure. We are in a new age. Right? This is certainly not the world it was 30 years ago. This is this is an age of digital transformation, not a .com, a digital transformation. And provocatively, my title may be The End of Jobs, or we talk about automation, jobless future. I don't believe there are no jobs. I don't believe we're entering post-scarcity economics. I have quite nuanced views on this, but what I do recognize is those individually and countries and states, those able to leverage AI, automation, tools, technology, and robotics, they're the ones that are going to get ahead. And as such, there is this real value, real innovation under it. You do need to invest in innovation, but because of fiat economics, there is overinvestment, there is distortion of investment, there is too much fake money, fiat paper money in finances, chasing too few innovation. And the nature of markets is going to be a speculative rise over valuation because of fiat economics, as well as it kind of creates a market structure, finding that price ceiling, creating the structure for the price to fluctuate, and then it's going to crash at some point. And ideally, it's kind of stable and it kind of goes like this. But what we see with fiat economics is the government, the monopoly, saying we're just going to keep pumping it up. And it's like a balloon, it's like a bubble. And the big question we all have is, when will it pop? My position has been something major has to pop it. That could have been when Liberation Day, April 2nd, 2025, if we entered into a new age of trade disruption and this major market correction. But within the day, Trump stepped back, said, I'm not ready to tackle the existing world order. So there wasn't this disruption. They have been kicking this down. I mean, 2007 was huge, 2008, huge. That should have been a bit worse, and then we could have recovered better. Instead, they've been pumping it and pumping it and pumping it. And you look at especially Canada, especially the UK and other countries, they say we have a productivity crisis. No, you don't. You have a fake crisis, and that's why the productivity is not going up. And you're valuing GDP and you're manipulating the world and society and your countries, especially with the importation of foreign labor, in order to achieve these arbitrary measures. So overall, the world is changing. You've got to, and you can adapt. You can leverage these technologies, these tools, these instruments to get ahead, even within all the crap around you. But you got to be very smart about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for the most part, we're looking at different scenarios. I think geopolitically, as I said before many times, in the Consolidator Legacy group, links in the description, as well as here on the podcast, there's just no leadership right now. There's a lack of leadership. We had good times during the boomers, and good times usually result in hard times for everyone else. And now we're seeing hard times, as you were mentioning about the about inflation or fake economic activity. I mean, I've recently been following some YouTube channels, and there's a big news story that's coming out now as with the Trump tariffs, and how like Trump is targeting the manufacturing sectors in China, which is creating turmoil, joblessness, and division within the Chinese Republic, or country for that matter. And I said this was going to happen. It's just domino after domino after domino with, like rivers, what is it? Streams to rivers, rivers to oceans or lakes and things of that nature. It's all flowing in, and it's resulting in these domino effects throughout the entire planet. And it's stemming from Trump stirring the pot up, geopolitically, economically, and market economies. And the thing that we're seeing mostly is like I've been seeing, I guess, apparently Rolex and the luxury watch marketplace. China recently, there are some insiders that, it was being suppressed, because we do know that some social media might be suppressed by certain economic reasons and geopolitical reasons. We've said it before. I don't want to get too far into it since we're on CensorTube, but yeah, more or less, news stories are coming out now that apparently Rolex is using Chinese made parts and and at the point where some things are actually manufactured in China that are sold for some of these luxury brands, and they're being passed off as Swiss made or luxury made. And it's not just Rolex; it's other types of luxury goods, consumer goods that are considered artisan and made, and with the U.S. made logo or Mexican made logo or Swiss made logo or whatever. It's just fake until proven. You know what? But the reality is that this is now being exposed, and you're like, why is this being exposed? Why is it all of a sudden this is a big deal? Because I mentioned on here 3 years ago when we first started podcasting and the Gonzalo Legacy Group, about Boeing. I worked in security in Seattle. I went to school when I was an undergrad 15 years ago, 15 years ago in my undergrad. And I worked private security next to the Boeing plant there in Kent, Washington. They were protesting. We were like, I was hearing from my security staff. They were like, yeah, we went over there and talked to them. And I was like, well, why are they protesting? What's going on? They were on strike because apparently Boeing had outsourced parts made in the Boeing plane to China. And this was the first stage of offshoring. So like they started literally offshoring parts and manufacturing parts to cut, basically to save a buck. And these parts were coming back to the United States for manufacturing, and they had to fabricate, and they were like, you're not getting paid overtime to fabricate these parts into Boeing planes. Fast forward, they were saying that basically I wouldn't fly on Boeing in 10, 15 years because they're going to fall out of the sky. Doors are going to fall off the plane. I was like, well, what? What are you talking about, man? They're like, yeah, I wouldn't fly a Boeing plane in 15 years. Fast forward 15 years later, Boeing planes falling out of the sky and doors falling off the hinges due to Chinese made parts and offshoring. The other dark side of it is the fact that now China has all of the intellectual property. So now China is making Boeing-like planes, and they're pushing their people to manufacture them or to fly in them. And they're like, well, okay, we'll fly in them, but why is Xi Jinping, why is he flying on American-made Boeing plane? If he believes in the Chinese-made plane, why, Yeah, so it is what it is. There's a lot of stuff coming out because of the manufacturing and the tariffs, and China is reacting by propagating and saying, hey, look, this is what's going on. We've been manufacturing a lot of these consumer goods that are claimed to be American-made, Swiss-made for decades now. And we didn't say anything because it's business. Like Gerald Celente once said, America's business is war, China's business is business. So they were like, hey, we'll manufacture it. I've even heard stories. We've even seen memes in the Telegram group where they were like saying, down with China, down with CCP. And they were manufacturing these in China for the U.S. marketplace for the mega guys. It was hilarious. I mean, it's like, dude, they're manufacturing propaganda in China because it's business at the end of the day. They're like, we talked about this before. What do you refer to China as? Socialism with Chinese characteristics? Is that what you're? That's
their doctrine, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, they are capitalists. And then like when I was there working in China, they were like, yeah, they're more my friends were like, yeah, they're more capitalist than Americans. They're like, it's just interesting how, but it's still state controlled, state owned. But I mean, like, it is what it is. So, my
criticism is so is America, state controlled, state owned. Boeing. Yeah. Boeing is a corporation. Lockheed Martin is a corporation. Well, what does that mean? Are they privately owned? Well, yeah, of course. They're owned
part of the military industrial complex.
Right, yeah. But the shareholders are mostly, politicians and just rich people, just generally those who hold Vanguard and BlackRock and all of these people and all the
lobbyists, special interests, bankers, everybody that has
part of the state, and then they bid for government contracts that say you're going to build this, and then we're going to regulate how you're going to build, what you're going to build, how you're going to operate, and it's in some ways maybe it's better. I don't believe so. I think it's kind of the worst of it. I don't think it's a private-public partnership. I think it's government with just private ownership, and as a result, you have like the worst of government industry and the worst of capitalism. We'll say, which I'm a big fan of capitalism. This is not really capitalism, but the point is to say,
oh no, it's not. Not even
It's
close.
called
It's
regulatory
fascism.
capture.
There you go.
Correct.
There you go.
What they want to do is maximize value for the shareholders. And that sounds great. Well, in this case, the shareholders is the state and the oligarchs and those who own it. And so
we saw this.
Is
we saw this during
Russia
08, right?
Is able to
08.
is able to out-manufacture NATO, America, and Europe 4 times over on a budget less than 10% of what America spends annually. Why? It's because America wastes so much of this money on their military-industrial complex, which is captured by the industry. Regulatory capture, very common. So you don't have lower costs, you don't have greater efficiency, you don't have any of the benefits of capitalism and private enterprise. You have all the worst of it. Just, look, I'll sell you this mug, it's $100. So, well, I could, if it was, as government, I got to buy the government approved mugs, $100. This mug should cost 2. So you have inflation of costs, extraction. Who's paying for all this? Well, the government's paid for the contract. So there's no competitive pressures. It's therefore not capitalism. It's fascism. It's public crap. It's government. And then you have the worst of it because we're spending $1 trillion a year on this. It's lining my pockets. I want my pockets to be lined even more. I want the valuations to increase. I want production to increase. I need to justify everything. I'm going to go manufacture chaos and war and conflict. And that's been the American doctrine, arguably for 100 years, but certainly the past 30 years or so. I like to just say the unipolar moment, especially with the bombing of Serbia, Belgrade, which is over and has been over this unipolar moment since 2020 or 2022 with the invasion of Ukraine. Pick, it's arbitrary.
Just like I said, like DC 2004 says, enjoy the decline. I mean, the reality is in 2008, we saw, like you were saying, we basically saw the U.S. government with the bailouts, and I think one of the largest shareholders of General Motors Corporation was the United States government. I don't know about now, but I don't think GM actually even paid off the loans they received from the government. They weren't. It wasn't free money. It was loans, but I guess they never paid it back, and they were like, "Oh, don't worry about it. We're your largest shareholder, so we don't care."
And
crony capitalism at its finest.
General Motors or General Electric?
No, it's General Motors. General Electric is also a military industrial complex company.
Huge,
special interest. Yeah, they make the atomic bomb and all that good stuff. Yeah.
I mean,
Boeing
they have
as well.
They do have many industries within their conglomerate. Like
and there you go. I mean,
aeronautics, ballistic missiles, arms, weapons, engines, and maybe a consumer-facing something, just kind of icing on the cake.
Yeah, General Electric was also one of the major creditors as well. They were a bank as well. It's now Synchrony Bank, but yeah, it was like one of the largest banks in the United States, actually in the world, from what I understand. But anyway, I digress. The situation is like we're saying, it's crony capitalism, military-industrial complex, special interest. We've pretty much broken this down, and we've said we're the only real influence, I think, on social media that even talks about this. The fact that the 14th Amendment was basically what created a corporate United States. Like it made the United States a corporation, and that's when the state and corporate powers became one under the 14th Amendment. We're the only ones to talk about that. And like I've done, I'm a law, I went to law school. I've done all the research. I'm a policy expert. So I broke it down. We did several podcasts on this. We did one podcast in particular where we actually broke it down. And this is one thing that I think Trump was trying to derail. He's trying to break it up because it's too powerful. It's the deep state. The deep state is because of the 14th Amendment. And through the 14th Amendment, this is how we have all as DC 2004 says, DEI as well for Boeing. This is why we have the DEI and all the stuff and the woke and, all the crazy stuff that's going on in the United States and the global economy, global marketplace, if you will. It's because of this 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act and all the stuff that was created. And it just kept going and going and going. Go ahead.
I think all of that, what you've said, is True, likely true, sounds right. However, I would push back that you say this was the cause. It sounds like they
No, not the
accelerate,
cause, not the cause,
they
but it was basically
accelerate
what
and
gave.
accelerate.
It's the
Yeah,
acceleration, but it was basically how the government was given authorization or legality
yeah.
to basically rewrite the U.S. Constitution and basically strip the Bill of Rights and
I
create
mean,
a new government
I've the
underneath the
re-
guise of freedom and democracy and equality. But yeah, go ahead.
the research I've done into the foundation of the USA and the Constitution, the founders and the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, is not that it was ever really about freedom. It was about supplanting the British ruling class with the American
Exactly.
ruling class. And this is something that I talk about often in my Liberty Rising group, channel, Telegram, follow. I
Links
say
in the
that
description.
I
Go ahead.
say that you cannot blame them for this. You go and listen to them. Like I've done some personality tests, and it says that I am a sovereign aristocratic, meaning I believe in sovereignty. I'm voluntarist, but my beliefs, I'm an adherent of elite theory. And the populist delusion. I think it's elite power, elite interest, the ruling classes that determine everything. And there are powers and parties within the elite, but the populism is insignificant in force. The point is that 250 years ago, they didn't have anarcho-capitalist theory. They didn't have even economics. A treatise into the wealth of nations was published in 1776 at the same time as the American War of Independence. So I can't blame them. And you go and read them, and they say, look, the masses can't lead themselves. We must do it. Whereas I believe that 200 years later, especially with Rothbard, and there's a long tradition, I think now we're standing on the shoulders of giants and say, well, actually, they were wrong. And the problem just is that government itself, this central monopoly of aggressive violence. That is the problem. It is not like government doesn't become corrupt. Government is corrupt. Government corrupts. And so my argument is that everything we're going through now is just a result of the progression of government and its growth and its totalitarian overreach into all aspects of life. And this is why AI is so amazing and dangerous, because you have kind of sovereign AI and then you have system AI. And I'm very excited about sovereign AI. I'm terrified, and you should be too, about regime system AI. And then you've got in between, you've got small, medium enterprise, you've got innovations, you've got things. And there can be some great value there. But these are kind of the two main factors. I mean, for example, in the UK, Tony Blair, they're rolling out. I mean, they already have huge facial recognition. They have all of London is covered in cameras, and then they have facial recognition where they are surveilling all of London. They can type in your. They say Adam, he's this high, tall, he's got this hair, he's wearing these clothes, he was around this area, and all their cameras can go look for you. And they can find you very quickly, and they have control rooms, and then they want to push that and expand that with digital ID, with regulations and everything, with all the stores to try and backdoor and gain instantaneous access to mobile data, smartphone data, private business data, and just increase in control. And it's terrifying. Josh.
What I was just going to ask you, like, I'm talking about the AI bubble. What are your thoughts though? Like, as far as you said that there's a sovereign, and then there's a corporate state AI systematic, I guess, a system AI. The what I'm talking about, the AI bubble, is I'm saying that the government or the corporate, because we know the corporations and government are one the same in this modern marketplace and globalization.
We'll just call it Leviathan. Like,
Yeah.
you can call it Cathedral, Leviathan, the state, just Leviathan for this talk.
Yeah, so that being said, what are your thoughts? Like I said, I think that the system is going, like the systematic AI or the corporate AI is going to collapse. That's the bubble. But then there's going to be a rise of the independence and the sovereign AI that's going to take over, and that's going to be like just like the internet, just like the internet. And there's one other thing that I'm thinking about, cryptocurrency, where it became a decentralized currency to the US dollar. I'm thinking that the AI, in the future, and not too distant future, I'm talking about like now, that you're going to see these corporate AI, individuals that are pushing it, and corporations and venture capitalists. It's going to fail. It's going to fail miserably. And then you're going to see basically sovereign individuals and independent researchers that are just going to push a new AI that's going to take over. What are your thoughts on that?
So if you take the dot-com bubble, so many things failed, but also so many things succeeded. And you have Google and Amazon and many others that came out of it. So when you say, oh, they're going to fail, there were hundreds, thousands, who knows how many businesses failed and system businesses failed then. But there was also progression and some innovation, and there were winners. So when you say fail, I know what you mean. It doesn't mean that nothing's going to come out of it, that it's all going to go to zero. It means that there's trillions to be invested, and really there's only going to be billions, tens, maybe even hundreds of billions of value, but so much is going to be wasted. Like, for example, the UK spending tens of billions of dollars on track and trace, which was used by too many people for a few months. And where did all that money go? Well, I don't know, in my pocket, in my buddy's pocket.
Well, the question, I guess the follow up there, or give you kind of a going back to the .com era. There was a company or a browser called Netscape. I don't know if you remember that. I know our younger viewers, like for the Zoomers, they probably won't know what Netscape is. It's fine. Netscape was an independent private browser. It was I guess it was pay share. So like basically you paid for the application to use it to browse the internet. And before that, you had like AOL, which you guys probably don't know because this is like millennial X-Gen talk. Basically, Netscape was like the new thing, man. It was like, whoa, but it was well developed and very well made, and it was funded by users. And sure enough, Bill Gates came around and was like, oh, let's buy it. And I think Netscape, that was what actually got him removed as CEO of Microsoft and investigated by the Justice Department. I do know that was one of the underlying reasons for that. Not sure if it was the only reason, but basically what he did was he reverse engineers Netscape and he made Internet Explorer. And then obviously that was taken over by Google and all the other the internet browsers that we have today, and apps and Apple and all that. But nonetheless, that's what I was talking about. It's basically these were independents. They created a better system, format, platform, and it was light years ahead of anything corporations had. And that's what I'm trying to say about the AI bubble, is that a lot of these like Grok or like ChatGPT or whatever you have, I think that this stuff is great and all, and it's very useful, but it's nowhere near what is probably being made right now by independents out of their garage. There's probably stuff right now, and I haven't seen it because this is intellectual property, but there might be stuff coming out that we don't know about that's even more advanced than what they have, and more advanced what they have in the military as well. But I'll digress. What do you think on that?
So I was in the startup ecosphere in 2020, 2021. It is clear that the real innovation occurs in startups. When you have massive corporations like IBM, sometimes they have some fantastic people, especially at the top, but it's not innovating. They don't have the agility to do it. They don't have the ideation to do it, really. It's easier, better, safer, everything for them to buy, not necessarily build. I mean, they do a lot of, IBM today has a lot of enterprise business machines and services and solutions. but not so much the innovation, which is massive in the startup sphere. The problem is, like, a startup, if they've got a fantastic idea, they got to get funded, unless they can build it self-funded and generate revenue. So you get a product MVP, get some revenue, you can go to the VCs, venture capitalists, and you can succeed, or you may be the company may be absorbed by the system. Like Uber, for example, that launched hugely with some of the people. It's now absolutely a regime product, but when it started, Airbnb, Uber, these were disruptive startup companies.
But they also didn't make money, right? They weren't profitable. Eventually,
well,
I mean, have they were, because even Google was very profitable until recently, apparently.
It's profitable. It's a whole nother conversation with profitability.
No, I got you.
But
I just think that, I just definitely think that that innovation, and like I said, I somewhat work in innovation.
We can look at social media sites, for example. There is one that mostly has some free speech, and that's Gab. And this is Gab after they were deplatformed from, I remember, it was probably 2017, I don't know, 2016 probably, where like they had their website hosted on AWS, and they got nuked, taken off, and no one else would host them. They had to build it themselves. That's not just independent, that's self-sovereignty, that's resilience away from the system. That's what needs to happen. In order, you need to be resilient from the system, not just independent from it. I would like to. I say often that artificial intelligence it's neutral, right? It's not good. It's not bad. It's powerful, and power can be used for good and for bad. It's a tool. I think it's critical for everyone to be able to leverage artificial intelligence for sovereign intellect. Now, listen, I don't code. I don't know how to code. I have not built from scratch my own AI, machine learning, LLM, deep learning. I'm not in the coding base up, but I have designed an AI system. I have spoken to top AI scientists from several years ago, before ChatGPT and everything. I do have a lot of expertise in the usability of AI, especially in the way I'm doing it. I think if you could, however you can integrate AI to enhance your cognitive capabilities, do it. Develop those skills. Just start integrating it in any capacity, because it's something that everyone needs to do to stay competitive. At the same time, I'm not saying learn to code. I'm not saying go into AI. You can use it to improve your cooking, for example. But it's important not to use it as a crutch. I hear that children today, or young adults, rather than doing work, just AI everything, and they don't read it. And AI, it has its benefits. It's not good at precision, and you don't want it to be a crutch. You don't want to be outsourcing thought. You want it to be as a scalable cognitive amplifier. You must enhance your own capacity to think independently, faster, deeper, more strategically, but without having it dominate, without the dominion over you. You must be dominion over the tool.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. No, I was just gonna say, like as far as jobless futures, do you think that AI is going to replace jobs?
So that's yes and no. I think AI as a technology is disruptive. Do you think that cotton machines will replace cotton sewers? Yes. Are there still people in the cotton industry? Yeah, people still have to harvest it. They've got to set up the machines, maybe run the machines, maintain the machines, design the machines, design the designs, sell, distribute. There's load. Again, I don't think we're in anywhere near post-scarcity society. There is a lot of jobs. The question is, if your job becomes disrupted because of AI, for example, fast food, there used to be all, loads of workers and servers. We'll just have a self-checkout and reduce the number of workers. Still maybe one or two, still got to have the cooks. I believe, but you don't need as many workers. You can lower down on your costs. If for coding, rather than having a team of 5 coders, you can now have 2 coders and the AI, and it saves. But you still need the 2 coders because you need the dominion needs to be in a person. This extends not just to services, but also manufacturing and countries. So because AI is a technology, which means something man-made, and so it's an advancement. How is an advancement used? Is it strategically, or is it as a crutch? Does it become dependent and then vulnerable? Let's go back to the Rolexes you were talking about. You said for example, they claim to be made in Switzerland, or another place claims to be made in America, but they imported some.
They define
from
Swiss made. Like they define Swiss made. I think like certain percentage of it has to be manufactured, or at least assembled in Switzerland. But like Rolex and some of these like luxury brands are claiming that it's sourced from within Switzerland, certain parts, like most of it. But we're finding out now that a lot of the parts that are being made in a lot of these manufactured goods, high-end goods, as well as in precision goods, is actually manufactured in China. It is what it is. But go ahead. Sorry, I digress.
So when they're manufacturing in China, it's not just a robot is doing this, and it's not just some faceless child in a workshop is slaving over it in sweatshop conditions. As you said, with if they build Boeing parts, these Chinese engineers or assemblers or manufacturer workers, they gain the cognitive, the human capital. They gain the IP. That's a human thing. These are skills that they gain. They know what is being made, how it's being made, and they can make it. This means that, okay, robotics means you can set up new factories, maybe, but you need to be standing on the shoulders of giants. You need to have the manufacturing industrial base. You need the inputs. You need the rare earth minerals. You need the factory lands and the workers. You need the money. All of these things mean that robotics comes up. America is a wealthier per person country, so maybe they have more capital that they're able to invest. Hypothetically, they could do it targeted and kind of leapfrog over Chinese manufacturing and gain the productivity because they've got the disposable wealth, whereas China, they've got greater total wealth, but they also have 4 times the people. That may not be true. This hypothetical, China may just continue to integrate and improve and upgrade, because if they're both growing at 10%, if there is not this dedicated focus, like if you have all the corruption of American economy or every economy, especially where governments are interested, then that corruption retards the growth, and you don't have the most optimized path forward. So there is a massive importance for human capital, for material capital or resources, and then for the industrial capital, and finally the services. So I don't believe that jobs are going. Again, I believe that jobs will be transformed. And
yes,
you want to be able to, you want to have the knowledge, have the expertise. We'll take this. So my thumbnail today, I made it with AI. I could have hired a graphic designer to make me this thumbnail. Maybe they would have done something not as nice. Maybe it's their own style. It's not as great. If I had a graphic designer, I could make it much more precisely, and maybe I have a better product. Maybe I've spent $100 for 4 hours of work, and I have a product that's great. With AI, I can generate 10 images in an hour, work through it myself, and I get something that may be better, it may not be, but I haven't had to pay someone to go and commission this work. Now, if this was not a thumbnail, but like a really important presentation front page for an investor deck or something, I would want a graphic designer. But I wouldn't want a graphic designer to make everything from scratch. I would need my graphic designer to be talented in both graphic design and production and everything, as well as using AI. So does the AI replace the graphic designer? No, the graphic designer must adapt for AI, because then what they're capable of doing with what AI produces and their skills to transform that even further is going to necessarily be a level above what I can do. They can edit it much better, and they can say, look, I'm going to do the text, I'm going to make these changes, I'm going to recreate what AI has provided as ideas, and I'm going to make it myself now with all this, and I've got the assets, and they can use AI to assist with these things. The point is, the managerial output and the quality, the polish of human may or may not be better than AI. It ought to be better. You ought to be better than AI. And that's probably achieved through exploiting AI, leveraging it, not as a crutch, but to enhance, to augment your capacity. And so long as you maintain that distance, I am the sovereign, I am the center, this is a tool. If you use a calculator all the time for every calculation such that you cannot do basic addition, like what's 26 plus 30? 56. If you have to go and use a calculator for that, you have failed at cognitive processing. Same thing with jobs, same thing with AI, same thing with robotics.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the main things, though, that we're concerned with right now is innovation and manufacturing. So one of the questions that came up was what will replace the CCP in China? What are your thoughts? I'll give my thoughts after your thoughts, but what do you have? What do you think on that?
I personally don't think that the Chinese Communist Party is collapsing. I personally think they will remain in power.
Okay. Personally, I think that they're collapsing because country is it's in chaos. It's on fire. And the reason why it's on fire is not so much mainland China, but because of Hong Kong. Because Hong Kong was a former British colony. Your former compatriots there, your former comrades, Mr. Adam. Yeah, so Hong Kong, like the people in Hong Kong are really just don't want to be under Chinese rule, don't want to be under CCP rule, and like I said, right now in mainland China, there's a high youth unemployment. Manufacturing is obviously being offshored, mostly by the Chinese government as well as American or Western corporations. But tariffs isn't helping the situation. Continue.
For example, like Chinese labor costs have risen, and they have then outsourced to Vietnam and to Bangladesh and then what the goal hopefully is, well, let's stop manufacturing low productivity, let's go towards higher productivity manufacturing, and that's real growth. Bangladesh, they can develop their cloth manufacturing. China, us, let's try and do technology, let's try and do enterprise and consumer goods. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you're saying. And it is what it is. I mean, like I said, like India and China, the reports or the qualitative and quantitative that came out, I guess, on developing economies, they were some of the largest growing economies in the developed world. I think they were 1 and 2 and the last recent surveys or studies I want to say 2021 ish, but I think that growth has kind of come to a conclusion. You're seeing massive amounts of Indians and Chinese that are leaving China, basically because they can't really do anything there. I mean, they hit glass ceilings in those countries. There's a lot of poverty in India and Pakistan. Like one of the questions that came up, as well as in China, outside of the main cities and the innovative cities, Shanghai, Hong Kong, tech centers, But one of the questions, or one of the comments that came up was, India and Pakistan both are very poor nations. Less than 3,000 is rupees GDP
No,
per
dollars.
capita. Oh, dollars. Okay, less than $3,000. No, I say because the dollar sign was after. I was like, "Is this rubies? What is it?" Okay, no. So less than $3,000 GDP per capita. A war between them would probably cause one of the biggest human catastrophes ever seen. What are your thoughts on that, Adam?
There are the Indian subcontinent is like a 2 billion people. You can
Yep.
take a circle, center it on Bangladesh, covers India, China, and that's more people live in that circle than outside of it. Lots of people. Yeah, anything. I mean, anything large scale war conflict there would be terrible. They're
Yeah.
not good. Like poverty wise, health wise, sanitation wise. There is some good stuff, here, there, everywhere. Like everywhere, there's wealth in India. There's trillions of
Oh
wealth in
yeah.
India.
Yeah.
But for most people, and there's 1.5, 1.6 billion people in India alone, plus
Yeah.
Pakistan, plus Bangladesh, plus China. You know, people aren't like the world isn't sunshine and rainbows. I don't
Yeah.
think this world is getting to sunshine and rainbows. I think things are getting worse and collapse. There is some progression in an advanced way and in a positive way. Again, it circles back to how you navigate this. Are you able to take the world as it is by the horns and thrive and succeed and adapt? Are you able to integrate that into your progression path, or do you get swept away with the tide? And I feel like for a lot of Indians and Pakistanis, if this conflict worsens, which it looks like it is, it seems like many would get swept away with the tides. I remember Pakistan a couple of years ago had some terrible floods. It was, I mean, millions of people suffered, maybe tens of millions. Yeah, it's anything in that part of the world catastrophic on this level, especially if nukes are involved. I hope not. Would be natural. I mean, the bloodiest wars in history, like top 10, like 7 of them are in China, for example.
That's true. Like the Korean War, United States Korean War with North Korea.
Boxers
I mean,
Rebellion.
oh yeah, I mean, like it was bad, and they were Chinese. Apparently, there were Chinese regulars that were like pouring over the 33rd parallel. Man, they were just. I know my grandpappy. He was there. He was a gunnery sergeant. He said that they were coming in droves. He said there were so many of them. They didn't even have weapons. They didn't have boots. They were literally like in waves and waves. And the guy would like drop the weapon, and the Chinese Red Army behind him would just pick it up and keep shooting. It was insane. He said it was insane. He doesn't even know how many people he probably killed in that combat. You know. Anyway, long story short, and I digress. It's a really messed up situation right now in India and Pakistan. It just started yesterday, or the conflict brewed out of control yesterday. We knew it was happening. We didn't really cover it, but it was just a developing issue, and we were just like,
There
okay,
was
it's
there was
yeah,
some terrorist attack from
yeah,
Pakistanis allegedly in India, especially in that region.
Kashmir, yeah,
And
yeah,
then India yesterday sent some missiles into Pakistani controlled area,
yeah,
hitting some mosques that they said were terrorist centers. Apparently, Pakistan shot down one of their jets, which would be the first time
yeah,
this French jet's been shot down. And apparently, there's more escalation today. It's a tragic situation. War is
yeah,
tragic. War is a crime. Many
yeah,
innocents always inevitably are injured and suffer.
yeah. It's like I said, and I think this is part of the collapse #collapse 2025 that I've been predicting for several years now, more than several years, so almost a decade. And then the like I said that we would see market corrections, we would see trade wars, we would see trade wars turning into major wars. And I didn't think we were just going to be in this World War III scenario where you're going to see A versus B. I was saying that we're going to see more of a digital, like digital battlefield, like the title, where you're going to see rockets hitting rockets, and like drones going after drones, and like robot wars and things of that nature. We're going to see this futuristic laser, like Terminator 2 style conflict. I mean, I know like basically the current concept right now, because United States, literally United States doesn't have the personnel. They have the equipment. I mean, they have the technology and the equipment to go to war, and even the money, somewhat. But I mean, they just don't have personnel. They don't really. Yeah, I mean, that's debatable. They don't
Well,
have the personnel. So what
you
they're
need
doing is
logistics and
yeah, 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 yeah,
manufacturing. And
yeah,
go
yeah,
to
yeah,
war where? In Mexico? Yeah, they'd probably win.
yeah,
In
yeah, yeah,
Iran, not without
yeah.
nukes.
So they're using like proxy fighters, and they're using foreign yeah, basically using foreign militaries and they're supplying them with surplus equipment and training them, and they've been doing this for many years, since many decades.
Uh,
But I mean, the thing is, now it's getting to a climax, I think, and the situation is, it's like, well, now we're gonna have to replace these fighters because we can't train them because they don't speak English. We have to send English teachers and trainers and DLI, and we have to pay them $100,000 a year to go teach, because that's what I did for many years, and they're not going to pay me $100,000 to go to Ukraine to go teach them English. So, and plus, it's not a safe environment. So, and they can't take Ukrainians to Europe to teach them, because what would they do? They'd just flee and they'd go into Europe, and that's it. Bye bye. So the situation now is, well, we're probably going to see digital battlefields. We're going to see through a computer, through a drone, and we're going to probably see some robotics coming about. I think we're going to conclude with this, but we're going to actually get into this in another podcast, a follow-up podcast, but I just want to leave this as a cliffhanger for you guys. So Adam, go ahead, man. You were talking about this before in the green room before we started.
Digital battlefields. Yeah, I think that's a whole topic for another day. But yeah, like warfare has changed. What I'll say is that artificial intelligence is a weapon. And weapons are a weapon of war. So that there are state to state. There's going to be these wars of artificial intelligence and of drones and robotics and ballistic missiles, and the offensive capabilities are supreme over defensive. For example, we can't shoot down hypersonic missiles, and it is just far more expensive to try and shoot down a drone than it is to launch one. But so it's a weapon of war between states. It's also a weapon of war from the state unto you as an internal governance. And then, a weapon of competition and enhancement of, like, if you within the job market, it's a weapon of war against my competitors. The point is, it's the defining instrument of this century. So if you don't know how to use it, and again, for example, AI reflects its training, you must be the one to verify, right? So don't use AI as an answer machine. As a sovereign man or woman, you treat it as a strategic co-processor, right? Ask it to simulate your views, get it to critique your ideas, use it as an intellectual sparring partner, but not as a priest of truth, because it's not that. It can't be that. You are the ultimate arbiter of reality. So learn to exploit these tools before they're exploited against you, because they are being exploited against you, and you don't want to get swept away with the tide. You want to stand tall, stand above it, and be able to navigate and position yourself above the bubbles, jobless future, and hopefully stay away from the digital battlefields. This has been the Liberty Report for markets, machines, and meaning. I hope it's been valuable.
Yeah, guys, like and subscribe. Remember, share this with friends, with family, coworkers. Write, ask questions, man. Write in the comment section. Do whatever you can, all that good jazz. Adam and I both have a locals channel. Subscribe, help us pay for the research and the development of this channel and these podcasts that we're both doing. And like I said, we'll just continue to grow, and we'll continue to come up with new and interesting ideas, for podcast and discussion, and join our Telegram groups, Liberty Rising group, on Telegram, and Gonzalo Legacy Group in Telegram. All right, that's it. Thank you guys, and remember, we're gonna be here. We're gonna pre-record next week, I think. Next week we'll be pre-recorded. Sorry about that. Like I said, I've got some stuff going on, but stay tuned for next week's Libby Report with Adam Maxwell and Professor Red Pill. Thank you and good night.